Hi, I'm Carla Sands, and I'm the chair of the Foreign Policy Initiative at America First Policy Institute. And I have with me a distinguished guest, Sebastien Lai. Sebastian's father, Jimmy Lai, has been in detention, and I'm honored to ask him questions about his father and the situation. And my first question is, Sebastien, I'd like you to tell our America First audience the most important things they need to know about your father's case.
Thank you very much for having me, Madam Ambassador. My father's story is actually, it's almost like the American dream in some way, but it happened in Hong Kong. So he landed in Hong Kong as a child stowaway when he was 12. And as he tells it, from communist China, he had nothing, but he felt like he had a future. And that was so much more than what he had in China. So he fell in love with the freedoms of the place, and then became incredibly successful. First of all with textile manufacturing, and then he founded a clothing brand. But when the Tiananmen Square massacre happened in 1989, he knew that he had to. He knew he had to take a stand. He had to defend the freedoms of Hong Kong as the British were handing Hong Kong over to the Chinese government in 1997. So he started a newspaper, and his newspaper was called Apple Daily. And the idea was, with information, people will have choice, and with choice, people will have freedom. So him and his colleagues, that's what they live by. They live by not being afraid of the powerful, speaking truth to power for the next 20 odd years, until the National Security Law came down, my father had a choice to leave. A lot of people told him that his pro-democracy campaigning, his peaceful campaigning, his journalism will land him in prison, will land him in a lot of trouble. This is 2019, 2020. But he was 72 at that point, and he knew that he could either leave and as you would say, live comfortably, or stand by his principles, stand by his employees, protect them, and live meaningfully. We all know the choice he took. He decided to stay, and on an early morning in 2020, they arrested him, and he's been in solitary confinement in a maximum security prison since 2020.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable that this could happen in the modern world. And how's your father holding up while this is ongoing?
Spiritually and mentally. Like, this is a man who knows he did the right thing. This is a man who, again, had an ample opportunity to escape, as he did when he was a 12-year-old from China. But he knew that he had so much more to protect, and decided to stay. So mentally and spiritually, he's a very strong Catholic. He's still holding up strong. But unfortunately, his health is not good. He's still on trial, a complete sham trial. But almost 5 years into being in prison, his trial has yet to be finished, he had to, on one of the days he couldn't go to trial because he had heart palpitations, heart issues, so he had to be hooked up to a heart monitor. I mean, he's 70, he's 77, 78, turning 70 at the end of this year. He's got diabetes. Obviously, the conditions he's been kept in are not good. But even if they were, which they're not, this is a elderly man who's essentially being tortured for his courage.
Have you had conversations with the administration about freeing your father?
So, we've been incredibly grateful for all the support that we've received in the U.S., including from the current administration. I mean, the president has given us so much hope when he said that he will do all he can to free my father. I think obviously the president knows the courage that it took for my father to stay and defend these freedoms, I'm just very grateful for his support. The UK government have also called for my father's release. The leadership was really from the US government, but the UK have now joined the call for his release.
And what are the Chinese and Hong Kong governments saying about your father's case?
So when they first arrested him, they had all these allegations against him. Look, to be honest, it's a textbook show trial, right? Yeah. I'll give you an example. When one of the first sentences that he got, which was he got upwards of a year for this, was lighting a candle and singing a prayer at a Tiananmen Square massacre vigil to commemorate all these students who died in Tiananmen Square.
I remember this.
And you should be well within your right to commemorate these people. And for that he got more than a year in prison. And then for a lease violation, which, I know you're in real estate, so for a lease violation, he got 5 years, 9 months, which is usually a civil charge at maximum fine. So the idea there is to paint him into this person who is, who did all these horrible things. But again, anybody listening to this knows that, well, if you'll commemorate people who died supporting democracy peacefully, that's not a horrible thing, and it never will be. And I think now they've had him on trial.
Yeah.
Since this was national security law trial since the end of 2023, after it was delayed multiple times, and all the allegations or the evidence that they thought they would have or find turned out to be incredibly thin. So they have this man who sacrificed everything that he has, his fortune, his freedom, his comfort, to stand up for his employees and stand up for his beliefs. Did so in a peaceful way. Never advocated for Hong Kong independence. Was always the democracy under the Joint Declaration, and this real moral figure that was always campaigning peacefully, and here is in prison. So I don't see what the benefit is for the Hong Kong and Chinese government to continue with this persecution.
No, it's classic case of just trumped up kind of show trial. We're seeing it all over the world, really, where freedom is under duress. Yeah. But how has the political climate changed in Hong Kong since 2019?
I mean, closures of, there used to be pro-democracy politicians. A lot of these people are now in prison. Mm-hmm. There used to be democratic parties, parties that campaign for democracy. Those are closed. If you just Google Apple Daily Raids, my father's newspaper, Apple Daily, which was the biggest newspaper in Hong Kong, but again, more importantly, supported democracy, yeah. You'll see 500 police officers running into a newsroom, and so that's the political climate in Hong Kong. It's one of fear. It's one of a mono party, and it's authoritarian.
Do you think that international pressure makes a difference on the Chinese government's oppression of, for instance, the Uyghurs and the Tibetans?
So obviously my focus is Hong Kong, and I think it does make a difference in terms of Hong Kong. Mm. And the truth is, even if it doesn't make a difference, it does not make a difference. One should still stand for these values of human rights. In Hong Kong's case, Hong Kong is telling the world that they are a financial center. They're a financial center based on one thing, based on a strong, rigid legal system that protects you when you're doing business there. And if you're going to have 1,000 political prisoners, if you're going to imprison someone for on all these sham charges for supporting democracy peacefully, you no longer have the rule of law. You no longer have a reliable legal system. And if you're going to take someone in commercial courts and give them 5 years, 9 months for a minor lease violation, mm-hmm. Well, that tells all the, even if someone is completely, doesn't really take a position on the pro-democracy campaigning, it tells them all they need to know about the legal system. Yes.
How is the political support in Hong Kong for your father's case? And is there any?
So it's as I mentioned before, the climate is obviously quite suffocating. But despite that, we've had, I've just been very moved by the support, because it obviously takes a lot of courage, especially in this day and age. But for example, when Apple Daily was first raided, I still remember there were queues of people lining up from early mornings to line up to buy Apple Daily, and someone was interviewed in line. And the interviewer said something along the lines of, Jimmy Lai got arrested, a few of his colleagues got arrested, the newspaper got raided. Are you not scared of buying Apple Daily, seeing that the government has essentially almost made it illegal? Yeah. And the person turns around, looks at the camera and says, I'll buy it. I'll buy it even if it was a blank piece of paper.
That's amazing. That's an amazing statement. Yeah.
But now that they've had him there for 5 years, now that they've gone through all his stuff, raided his companies, they found that none of that is true. Whenever he met with students, would tell them to be peaceful during the protest. He never advocated for Hong Kong independence. And for the last 30 years, he did all of this because it was the right thing to do out of his own pocket. In fact, some person looking for an nefarious benefit would have never stayed in Hong Kong to defend his principles and to defend his employees. It's as simple as that.
It's unbelievable. I saw him interacting with the students over and over and with the young protesters. It was remarkable how active he was. Well, before we end our talk, is there anything else that you want people to know about your father, Jimmy Lai, and his case and his quest for freedom and your fight for it?
I think, just please follow along. His trial they just finished closing argument. His trial is going to finish, hopefully sometime next year. And we really appreciate your support. And even if it is just a prayer, because he's in jail in solitary confinement. This is a man who, if we were in the same situation, we all wish we did what he did. But he's there, and in solitary confinement, they tell you that nobody cares about you. They tell you that you're alone. You're going to die standing up for your beliefs, and nobody's going to care about you. And that's not true. But even just a prayer, know that he, somewhere out there, he's going to receive it.
God bless your father, Jimmy Lai. God bless you for fighting for his freedom, Sebastien. Thank you very much for visiting us at the AFPI studios.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for telling your story.
Thanks.